We're born into a certain world. You can have all that it has to offer. You can build an empire, be a king.
I want to show you something. Your destiny.
Siempre te lo dije, eres especial.
Siempre un paso adelante.
Let's go get him.
1, 2, 3, come on.
I like you.
I heard you can help me.
You always have a home here with us.
Come on.
Our time has begun!
Times have changed.
I haven't.
That's right. You tell him, baby. Come on.
It's on.
Oh, I love it. Who doesn't love a good sizzle reel? That's a good one. That's a good one, Superna.
Glad you guys liked it. I like it too.
Yeah, no, I love it. I want to watch it again. Let me do this just to orient our audience today, because you do. You're really focused on global international markets. What were some of the things that we just saw there that I bet some of the folks in the audience are like, I've never seen that before. I've not heard of that before, because it actually may not have been focused here as much. What are a couple of great shout outs from that sizzle reel we just saw?
I have a feeling most everything actually there is on one service or another here in the US. So Killing Eve, you saw Rami, Godfather of Harlem, Killing Eve is on Hulu, Rami is on Hulu, Godfather of Harlem is on Epix. A lot of Starz stuff obviously in there, Lionsgate stuff as well. But most things that we acquire, with the exception of stuff I'll talk about, or not just acquire, but actually have from our home studio, does appear somewhere in the US usually. And that's because the business model doesn't really allow for us to be able to subsidize shows without there having a US home, usually. And with the exception of that is we are the broadcaster, the home broadcaster of a bunch of shows that have yet to air. And those are our Starz Play originals. So they're our shows. And those will start in Spain and Mexico in the next few months, actually, and start rolling out. So they've been in production off and on through COVID. And those are, you won't see anywhere else except for on Starz Play in those territories. So we have it.
That's exciting. That's exciting. We're going to talk a little bit more about some of the productions here just in a little bit. So quick question, you were getting into it a little bit, but maybe just for everybody, Lionsgate, Starz Play, yes. Just 1 second. You want to just do a quick second and just kind of like help everyone understand the relationships there?
Absolutely. So Lionsgate is a movie studio, one of the fewer smaller ones that are independent. And Lionsgate bought Starz about 5 years ago, I think. And Starz has three brands actually. The first brand is Starz, as you guys well know, in the US and in Canada. And then we have Starz Play in almost every country that of the 58 that I mentioned. And then we have the last brand is called Lionsgate Play, and that's in India. And that's simply because there was an existing star there already in India. So in Southeast Asia and in India, the brand is Lionsgate Play. Everywhere else it's Starz Play outside the US and Canada.
Ah, I love that. And where do you spend most of your time?
I spend a lot of my time in my office, in my so pre-COVID, I spent a lot of time on the road. We're based in LA. We have staff all over the place. We have staff in New York and Denver, Miami to cover LATAM, and London and Spain. And so far, that's where we have offices at the moment and staff. And my, time is spent really looking at our bigger 6-7 markets like Brazil, Mexico, UK, Spain, Italy, Germany, France, Canada, India. In India, we have a staff in India that kind of does their thing. So I just help them here and there.
That's a lot of world there to cover. That's a lot of world to cover. So let's do this. Let's just talk about when you think of kind of the world of entertainment moving forward and streaming moving forward. You named some some pretty large markets there. How do you actually think about the different markets when you think of kind of the, releasing, direct to consumer offerings and kind of the next wave of the streaming wars that we're moving into here?
Yeah, so when we first launched, we had to figure out where we wanted to spend our time, our money, our resources. And so we picked markets that had broadband penetration, a high mobile penetration, smartphone penetration specifically, because even if you have mobile, it's not necessarily smartphone, which a lot of people don't really realize. We looked at high propensity to pay for content. And then we looked at whether they enjoy Western content, because when we were first launching, certainly, and still is, the bulk of our content is Western content, whether it's from Europe or from the US. And so those are kind of the filter and the lens that we used when we were trying to figure out what to do and where to do it. And then in terms of, we launched, and then we have a tremendous amount of data because we've got our first party app deployed in about I think it's 11 markets now. And that app gives us first party data so that we know exactly what people are watching, how long they're watching a particular show, what else they're watching, what brings them into our service. So there's a metric that we use called first title streamed, so that we know what brought them into Starz Play. And that is what we call an acquisition driver. And what have they stayed around to watch? The other shows in the same cohort or the same ilk. You'll have somebody come in for Ghost, which is our season, our second chapter of the Power series that we have that's very popular. What else are they watching? Are they watching Princess series, or are they watching Godfather of Harlem, for example? So, we keep track of a lot of that, so we know what to program and how to keep that particular cohort of audience engaged for the long haul. So making sure that we've got programming coming on after one ends, the next comes on, etc. And so we've got, in the US, we've got two major cohorts. One is women and the other is African American. Internationally, we have women and then we have males. So we are all about adults. And what works in different countries is super interesting. A lot of our African American targeted shows work beautifully in the UK, in Canada, in France, and in Brazil. Less so in some of the other territories, but by no means is it a no. It's just a little bit less than some of the others.
No, I like that. So, so it's not only just Western, but actually it's Western, and then you've actually found some kind of subsegments in there, kind of on the kind of genre audience that seems to play kind of better into some of the different territories. Yeah. What? So as you kind of released into some of these territories and you've launched, did you have any surprises anywhere where the plan did a little better than you thought, or maybe it was a little different than you thought? How has it gone so far? So
I think countries where we've done exceedingly well would be Brazil and the UK, which we're excited about. I didn't expect Brazil to pop quite as much as it did. If you talk to some of my team members who came from other streamers, they were like, of course, Brazil. So, it really depends on people's previous experiences and things like that. But Brazil's been a nice pop for sure. We've had fantastic success in India, Indonesia as well. Canada has been just amazing from the day we launched. I have to say, we're in partnership with Bell there, and they've done a really nice job, with Starz in Canada. So yeah, I think those are probably the big kind of surprises, if you will. No, I love that. I don't know if you can tell this from the data or just experience, but what's the reasons why you think, let's say, Canada is doing well, or Brazil, let's say outperform? I mean, certainly Brazil's a big market; it's almost about the size of the United States, practically. What caused these markets to do so well? I think we have the right programming in these pieces for sure. With Canada in particular, it follows the US pretty closely, as does the UK. With Brazil, Brazil actually follows the US more than you think. And that was interesting to us. I don't know that I understood that so well. We're starting to bring on more originals as well. So we're going to start to do, some Spanish language stuff, which of course will be dubbed into Portuguese. Not to say that it's the same things that will pop in Brazil that will pop into Mexico, for example, but there is some crossover. And over time, you'll start to see us do some stuff in Portuguese as well. No, I love that. Now, it sounded like you have some original programming coming up, and then it also sounds like you're doing some creative things with either on the licensing side or when it comes to dubbing and subbing and getting it ready for different markets. But you kind of started the conversation by saying you were looking for countries where, since you have a large catalog of Western content, Western produced content, that you're looking to move it over. But
You know, I always like to think about, you know, the US market is a whopping 4% of the entire global world, you know, up 4%. So you're only dealing with what, like you're focused on 96% of the world. Okay, Superna, so small subset of the population there. So first wave out, focus on kind of some of the Western, you know, where some of this Western content will play well. But it sounds like you probably now start thinking about some new production. As you looked at growing the footprint in those markets, how are you thinking about kind of new production, both for some of the territories you've gone into, and then maybe how you might think about that into, you know, what's kind of next for Starz?
Yeah, so we were lucky enough to have an executive who was based in Madrid who came to us. His name was Peter Tortorici, and he used to run CBS a long time ago, before Les Moonves, believe it or not. And so Peter lives in Madrid and has just fantastic taste and really has folks that he just knows the community there. So we were looking for Spanish language because Spanish language is just such a huge percentage of the population of the world, right? And so in Spain, he hired a development executive who's a Spaniard, which I do believe is critical, that, you know, you can't have Americans making decisions about local culture. It's impossible. So we are very clear and focused on making sure that we've got people from, you know, native language speakers and you know, understand the production community, the tastes of different countries and all of that. Like, I'm Indian American, but I'm not Indian, where I can go and pick product for India, even though I'm fluent in like 4 languages of the Indian subcontinent. Doesn't really mean anything. At the end of the day, you really have to be from that place. So we've got, you know, folks in Spain that have come to the table with just a tremendous amount of relationships with producers, directors, writers, etc. And so we picked quite a few shows from the slate that fit our brand. And so our brand is, again, edgy, premium, adult. We lean very heavily into crime, sex, violence, that kind of stuff. So our first show is called Express. It's one of our first shows. And Express is about the world of express kidnappings. And that is, I think we're almost done with the production for this season. The second show that we picked was actually exactly called Nacho. That has not started filming yet, but it's based on the life story of Nacho Vidal, who's a porn star. And so think Boogie Nights. And we're not shying away from anything there. And these are shows that you won't find on a Netflix or on an Amazon because they are too edgy. And so the producers are very excited to work with us. And the first one, Express, comes from MediaPro. The second one is from a company called Bamboo. And these are very, you know, fantastically well-respected, known production entities that have great auspices. And, you know, they're excited to work with us because we will do some of the edgier stuff that others won't. And so we started in Spain, and then we've got Mexico as well through our relationship with a sister company called Pantaya, where we've got a show called Senorita Mexico, again in the salacious world Senorita 89, the salacious world of pageants and all the intrigue behind that. That's a fairly dark show as well. So on and on and on. So it's Mexico, it's Spain. We're filming in multiple different places, and then we've got a whole bunch of productions coming out of India, and then also the Arabic world with our Starz Play Arabia JV, and then we've got production entities out of the UK.
No, I love that. You know, it's interesting. Michael Wolff this morning was talking earlier today about kind of trends in streaming. And one of the things that he was talking about was, you know, that we'll probably actually see more different streaming platforms, but a little bit kind of alluding to the success here would be that you're focused on kind of what your market is, your niche market, your audience. And it sounds like that's one of the things that you're really doing, that you really have honed in, you're clear about what your brand is, and you're very clear where that brand meets some of your content that you currently have and what you're trying to produce. Is that right?
Yes. Exactly.
Yeah.
So we are very focused. I will say that for sure.
No, it sounds that way. So let's use that as to ask this question. So when it comes to, in this very crowded marketplace, streaming wars, it sounds like you're being very thoughtful and very intentional about how you want to direct your strategy. How do you think about the go-to-market strategy for Starz in this kind of very competitive marketplace?
Oh, for sure. I mean, it is really competitive, but we don't really think of ourselves as having too many competitors, to be honest with you. So we are, for example, on Amazon. We are partnered with Amazon. We are carried on the Amazon Channels platform in many, many, many countries. So if you're an Amazon Prime subscriber, you can subscribe to Starz Play through that platform, like you can here in the US. So they're just a really strong and important partner to us. Apple, same concept there. We are carried on the Apple Channels platform in, I think it's over 30 countries at this point. And so again, another fantastic partner of ours. We don't really program to the basic TV audience, right? So Netflix has something for everybody. They've got some comedies, some kids programming. We're all over. Awesome. Um, so that's what I was saying. Yeah. So launching a show like we do here in the US on Sunday evenings, and then it has to go out day and date all over the world. It has to be dubbed or subtitled in the right languages. The artwork, has to be translated. Really every piece of it has to kind of flow together and be QC'd before it goes out the door. And then we don't just we're not just beaming it out to our app. We're beaming it out to many, many partners like Amazon and Apple, like I just mentioned, but also to Virgin and to Izzy and Total Play and, all the telcos in India that we're partnered with, etc. So we have like 50, 60 partners that it has to go out to. So it's by no means just pushing a button and out it goes, which is what I was led to believe by people like you. It's going to be really easy.
It's easy.
Hard.
Just let the cloud do it, Superna. All right, so let's take a step back. So here, kind of in your go-to-market, your competitive strategy is not to compete. So it sounds like you have a lot of, you know your space and you have a lot of great partnerships. And then on the content operations side, it sounds like you have a real focus on that. If you mentioned like one or two things that you've done to, over the last year that have really helped you out, where have been a couple of areas of focus to kind of meet some of these day and date demands and be able to reach so many different platforms?
I think investing in systems has been really critical. Understanding how to getting data and harvesting data is one thing, learning how to read it and making sure you have the right data scientists and folks like that to make sure that we are enabling the best possible experience for the consumer from a tech standpoint, from a UI UX standpoint, making sure that people in the buy flow are optimized. I kind of lost the thread of the question, actually. Say it again, Eric.
Oh yeah, no, sure. It was just saying, what are some of the most important things over the last year that you've done? And then kind of, here's the things that help you get to all these platforms and scales. You've had to make changes. So, because it wasn't as easy as maybe we made it out to sound, right?
It's three different things. The first is definitely people, investing in the right people, right? And making sure that we've got the right folks that are digital first and forward, that understand, again, how to read the data, how to optimize everything from buy flows on the app, like I was saying. Then the second is on the systems, the investment in the systems to making sure that, all the things that are going in the door can handle multiple languages. Like we had a really tough time, for example, with Japanese text when we were launching in Japan. That was a bear to really struggle and trying to figure out how to do that. Content delivery, out to all of these partners, everyone's got a different spec that we've got to adhere to. So it's not like we're publishing and then people are just getting from us. We are delivering in their spec to them in their language with audio files that have to be conformed to it. I mean, sorry if I'm boring people, but that have to be conformed to a certain way, and everyone's got their own kind of bespoke way of doing things. Apple has for example, very, very high image quality requirements that we had to scale up to be able to handle, but they want it delivered through a fax machine. So like that was really hard to do. And we had to do that as a light switch because we launched 31 countries with them in one day.
That was a big deal. That was a big deal.
We did that, yeah. And so getting the company, which is a linear company to begin with, to really understand how to be more global, and then a digital company, it's been a journey, but it's been really fun.
No, I love it. All right, so I have one more question, and then I got a question from the audience. I'd love to kind of get your thoughts on. When it comes to this, the symposium has data analytics and data as a through line. How do you use data to help make decisions? I'll bet you've learned a lot through the data over the last year. You were surprised in Brazil. Some of it's obvious, like we might get a lot of subscribers or we're seeing a lot of people play. But what's some of the other data that you look to? Like if you kind of shared, when I think about, the kind of year ahead, whether it's kind of expanding business in where I am or the kind of data I would need to kind of expand into more markets, what's the most valuable data and what's the data you're still looking to get?
So we look at all sorts of things. So very, very macro level, we look at query volumes. We're looking to buy a show with Julia Roberts. How popular is Julia Roberts in Germany versus in Brazil versus in India versus in Ecuador? And so we can look at Google search. It's really kind of simple, query volumes. Looking at social media and social media listening, we have a partnership with a company called Parrot Analytics that gives us a lot of insight into demand for certain things, whether it's through shows or people or whatever. There is a very complicated thing. I don't really understand how it works, but we do have the ability to take scripts and put them through an engine here in our data and insights group, where they can actually give some insight into how well a certain show will perform. And that's, honed over years and years of data that they have domestically here in the US. Outside the US, we're still kind of building those training wheels a bit. So data informs literally every single thing. So what shows to buy, what to program, what to do is auto roll. So you're done with this show, and what is it going to auto roll into? Well, we know that your cohort tends to watch after Ghost. They watch a lot of Godfather of Harlem, so we'll do an auto roll onto Godfather of Harlem. Or you've already watched it, so we'll put it onto P-Valley, which is just another show in that same ilk. Or we want you to try and expand you a little bit, so we'll put in Gangs of London. Or we have an idea that you're male, so we'll put in something more male, whatever it might be. And so that kind of analytics is pretty hardcore. We spend a lot of time on the buy flow. So you're on the app. Are you actually going to click through on an ad? Starting with the ad. What ad are you clicking on? Okay. Does it take you to a landing page? Are you completing your purchase of the app? Or are you stalled halfway through? So there's a lot of pieces to completion of that we can hone and optimize, and we've got a whole team that does nothing but that. We use data every single day to make sure that we are ensuring that our ads are in the best places. Are we buying on Facebook or on YouTube or on Instagram or whatever, to making sure that we're reaching the right audiences. And that's a whole other world in and of itself, in terms of how to ensure that your dollars are spent in the proper way. We look at, so then that's one piece of it. Then we look also at, that's two pieces of it. The third piece is actually looking at, are we spending our marketing dollars in the right places? We spend a lot of money on the Amazon advertising platform. So your subscriber to Amazon Prime, we want you to subscribe to Starz Play. And so we'll put an ad on Fire TV, which is their service, or we'll buy what's H1, which is Amazon.com. And that H1 is that first big giant block of inventory that you see, or whatever it might be. Are we spending too much? What's our subscriber acquisition cost? What's the lifetime value of that particular subscriber? How long will they stick around? How much should we spend on marketing money to get that consumer? Well, they're a female who loves Outlander. They'll stay on the service way longer than someone else might. So we'll spend some dollars trying to get them.
All right, fantastic. It sounds like you're using data all over the place. Marketing, for making green lighting decisions, all of that. Really appreciate that. There was one last question. I don't think we'll have time to do. Maybe give you like a real quick answer on it. But it was a question about, how do you think about going into your next market? So you already have a game plan about the markets you went into. Anything that you're changing about how you prioritize kind of in the year ahead?
Not too much is changing. I mean, we are looking continually. Hi, Carmi. That was a great question from you. And so we just are continually looking at different markets to expand to. But of course, we come down to, are they going to like the content? Is there a huge Netflix market there? Because Netflix to us is now basic cable. Do we have the right content to program onto the service? So we look at, anywhere from roughly 1,000 hours is our go-to-market number. And do we have the right content available? Has it been licensed elsewhere? Can we acquire content for that particular country? And then we decide to go in.